And you're welcome to call in with your questions for Dr. K. Jean Lucas here on the talk station, and brought to you by Diabetes and Endocrinology Consultants. Good morning, doctor. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great.
We're good. What are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about our research studies in our office, trying to see if people are interested and just tell them what we have.
At any given time, how many patients are involved in studies? Do you know?
We have 400 now in studies.
Wow.
It comes and goes, but usually it's around that number. People finish studies and start new ones, or there's some long-term studies that are like 2 to 5 years long. So we keep a lot of people in studies. I think people are more interested with the cost of medical care going up and medicines going up. I think it's a big draw for people.
And these are studies that no matter what kind, if you're enrolled and you qualify for the study, everything is free, pretty much, right?
Yeah, the care is free, the lab tests are free. If it's a diabetes study, they usually provide strips, and they'll provide the medication for the study. Then they actually pay you, usually it's $50 a visit to come to your visit, to make sure you come, and for travel expenses for the visit. So you actually get paid to go to the doctor, which is
that's nice.
Unusual.
All right, so let's talk about some of the studies. Again, we're going to talk about deal with diabetes.
Yes.
Right.
The new things for type 1, which is the one, type 1 is the type of diabetes that you don't make any insulin.
We used to call juvenile diabetes.
Juvenile, but it can happen at any age. It's an autoimmune process that kills the cells that make insulin. So you end up not making any insulin and have to take insulin shots. The two groups of medicines that are being used now to get approved would be a new type of insulin where it works faster. Most of the insulins, even though they're called rapid acting, aren't very rapid, and so you absorb your food and the blood sugar goes up before the insulin has a chance to work. So you get this up and down swing in your blood sugar, and that's a little frustrating. You'd almost have to give the insulin 30 minutes before you eat to match what the food does. So right now they're developing some new, even faster adding insulins that instantly act, which is hard to believe they can do that because you inject the insulin in your skin, but they do act very quickly, and they keep the sugar from going up as high when you eat. So that's one group of studies we have. And then the other group is other types of medicines that might help the blood sugar in type 1s. I mean, most of the time it's just insulin, but the new group of drugs that pull sugar out of your body, the SGLT2 inhibitors, keep the kidneys from holding on to sugar, and they sort of drain sugar out of your body. Even if your sugar is normal, they'll still pull sugar out, not causing low blood sugar as much as just evening out the high sugars. So that's another group of drugs that we have research studies in, using those in type 1 and getting those approved. Those are approved in type 2 already, and they're trying to get them also approved for type 1. So those are studies.
I think that probably growing up, the only kind of diabetes that I ever heard of was type 1 or juvenile diabetes growing up. I mean, when did we start understanding more about type 2?
Well, type 2 was pretty boring for a long time because you only had sulfonylurea drugs up until metformin came out in the 80s. But I think the avalanche of studies and new drugs are for type 2 because we realize that type 2 is increasing like crazy in the population. The population is older and fatter, so it's pretty much a genetic disease that's very common in the world. And with everybody getting older and fatter, then there's a lot of potential for diabetes drugs to be out of the market.
Has the swing though towards research been more towards type 2, and is type 1 not getting enough attention?
Type 1 people are very upset because they don't have that many options. I mean, this thing about the islet cell transplantation has been going on probably 20 years, trying to find islets and put back in your body. And the islets, and I think they're still working on that. They're working on different ways of protecting the islets against the immune system, which is the big problem. So if you inject islets, they just go and live in the liver. They don't care. They'll make insulin anywhere they are. They don't have to be in the pancreas. So that's easy. But then the body kills them. So what's the point of injecting them if they're just going to be killed? So that's the problem, is if you coat them and fix them enough so the immune system doesn't attack them, probably the insulin doesn't get out. So they have to have different ways of dealing with the immune system. And that's hard. That's the hard part.
Right. is it, and again, that's for type 1. Right?
That's for type 1.
So finding the place, does it matter where it's injected? Does it make any difference there?
Well, you inject it in the bloodstream,
Yeah.
as far as the islet cells. So you just inject it like a transfusion, and then they just go and find where to live and keep making insulin. But the immune system revs up again, because that's how you got type 1 diabetes in the first place, is your immune system attack the cells that make insulin. So if you put in more cells that make insulin, it's still going to just attack them too and kill them. So you have to find a way of keeping the immune system from attacking those islet cells without suppressing the immune system for the whole body.
Right.
And that's hard, very hard to do.
Okay.
There's multiple antibodies that do that.
Okay, so again, that's a type of research study right now that you're looking at.
So we're not doing any islet cell research right now, so
Right.
I don't want to mislead people. We're doing studies with newer kinds of insulin and with pills that might help the blood sugar come down without injecting insulin.
Okay.
Then type 2 is more interesting as far as the different types of medications there are. Basically, there's two groups. One group is GLP-1 group, which GLP-1 is a signal that tells the pancreas to make insulin at the right time. So that's one group. And then the SGLT2 inhibitors, there's quite a few of those, and those are the ones that pull sugar out of your body. So we have studies with both of those. To qualify for those, the blood sugar needs to be a little bit high. They don't want people that are already perfectly controlled, because they're not going to see a big change in their A1C or their average blood sugar test over time with their new drug. So usually the A1C needs to be over 7. So if you know your A1C and it's over 7, then you might be able to get in those studies. They have weight limits in some studies don't have weight limits. I think it's sort of silly to have weight limits, because when you get out in the population, you're not going to have any weight limits.
Right, right.
Some people realize that and some people don't. There's studies that you can be in even if you're not on any medicine for diabetes. And there's one study with SGLT2 for people on no medicine or just on one medicine. So any one medicine you can be on. And there's other ones that, the one that we're going to start in a couple of weeks, if you're on a GLP-1 already, so if you're already on Victoza, Byetta, Bydureon, Trulicity, or Tanzium, which are injectable medications that are not insulin, and you're on metformin, then there's a new mixed medicine. It's a mixed GLP-1 insulin medicine that's being studied, and it's just one shot. So if you're already on a GLP-1 and metformin and you're not controlled, you either get to stay on your GLP-1 already and they'll pay for it for 6 months, which is pretty good because they're expensive medicines.
Right.
Or you get on a mixed shot, which controls your blood sugar even better. And that's a mixture of Lantus, which is an insulin that's been around a long time, and lixisenatide, which is another GLP-1 like Victoza.
That's a newer one, though?
Yeah, that has not been approved yet. So it's already had positive ratings from the FDA committee, but it has not been approved.
Okay, coming up in a moment, we'll talk about how do you get involved with these studies and how do you meet those qualifications, etc. Coming up in just a bit here on Sugar Talk with Dr. K. Gene Lucas. And welcome back to Sugar Talk with Dr. K. Gene Lucas from Diabetes Endocrinology Consultants online at beachdoctor.com. And I guess we want to talk a little bit about how people get involved in these studies.
They can either go to our website at beachdoctor.com. There's a questionnaire for research, so they can fill that out, and that I look at those, and we call them and get them an appointment.
So that's a general questionnaire, then you can decide what kind of study they might go into if you have.
Yes, it is, and then ask them about diabetes and what their A1C is, and if they have heart disease and other things that they might get in studies for. Or they can call the office, and we'll ask them some of the same questions. We like them to fill out the questionnaire because they can think about it and try to find out the information they need for the questionnaire.
Is that a questionnaire there for general patients as well? Just a good one to have?
It's mainly just for research patients,
Okay.
people that are interested in research. We have another questionnaire for our patients that we're seeing as consultations and things.
Okay. All right, so beachdoctor.com, they can find out. Now, how quickly do they get, they hear back? Or
Pretty soon, within a couple of days. Depends on me.
Depends on your schedule.
Yeah, we need to.
Yeah.
But I'll look at it, and usually it's pretty quick. I can look at it. and we call them and see when they want to come in. And there's no charge for that visit to assess whether they could fit into a study or not. So that's the main thing, is they don't have to bring a bunch of money or anything. So that's no charge, just to see, just to talk to them a little bit, see how their diabetes is going. We do an A1C in the office to see if they qualify based on the A1C, and take a history. And
again, a very simple process to maybe be life-changing for you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get something out of even that visit. If they don't get in a study, they even get something out of that.
All right, find out more at beachdoctor.com or by calling the office at 222-5700. That's 222-5700, and online at beachdoctor.com for diabetes and endocrinology consultants who brings you Sugar Talk.